Kathryn Hall-Trujillo, our New Mexico treasure, our national treasure, our international treasure. I'm just going to embarrass everybody by telling the truth today. Kathryn Hall-Trujillo, for over 40 years as a public health administrator, community health educator, and advocate in the public and private sectors, Ms. Kathryn has been addressing the racial and gender divide in women's access to health care. She was a founding member of Birthing Project USA, the Underground Railroad for New Life, a global maternal and child health organization which has provided technical support and resources to maternal and child health stakeholders in 13 countries. Her experience in, please, go for it. Her experience in understanding, translating, and bridging policy, administration, services, delivery, and client cultures has earned her national and international recognition, including presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Living Legacy Award, an appointment as an official ambassador by the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, a United Nations affiliate. Ms. Hall-Trujillo has also received the University of California at Los Angeles School of Public Health Lifetime Achievement Award and is an Ashoka Global Social Entrepreneur Fellow. She is an independent scholar of the Cuba Public Health System, serves on the Medical Advisory Board of IFCO, the administrator of the U.S. Cuba Medical School Scholarship Program. She's also an adjunct faculty for Charles Drew University of Medicine and visiting professor for the Cuba National School of Public Health, where she facilitates courses for U.S. students and professionals. Ms. Kathryn is a consultant and mentor to many community leaders, students, and young professionals, to whom she is affectionately known as Mama Cat.
Well, are here who know me, that now I work with women around birthing yourself.
I didn't know.
Around birthing yourself. So, of course, I'm sitting here just like, yes, yes, yes. You said that, because it really is the hardest thing that we do, is to figure out how to birth ourselves. We birth babies, we birth relationships, we birth jobs, we birth gardens, we birth all kinds of things. But at some point, we get to that place where it's just me and me. And what does it take to literally birth myself, to be pregnant with myself, to think about what's growing in me, what am I bringing into the world, and what does this thing that's inside of me that's wanting to live, what does it need in order to survive? And ironically, a woman is more likely to be diagnosed with a mental illness or to be beaten up for the first time is that time during menopause, when you know you probably are not going to have any more babies, and you get that little itch, that there's something else that needs to happen, and maybe I need to take care of myself, maybe I need to say no, maybe I need to stand up for me. And the world kind of doesn't see us that way, because it sees us as being mothers of children. And so the idea of birthing ourselves, being pregnant with ourselves, honoring ourselves, nurturing and caring for us the way we care for our babies takes a lot of courage. Mm-hmm. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So baby girl, and I'm gonna call you baby girl because my oldest baby is 57 years old. So anybody under 57 is my baby. I think that I'm pretty alarmed right now that my granddaughter, who was the first baby I delivered, who's 37 years old, told me I better get used to having the grandpuppy because she's not having a baby. Our birth rate right now is about 0, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that my organization has done about 13,000 babies. And in some of the places, we haven't had any poor birth outcomes in the last several years. Even in Malawi, which had one of the highest maternal mortality rates on the planet, where we are in Malawi, we haven't lost a mom in several years. It's possible for a Black baby to be, and the mom and the baby to live. I think that now that we have really, everyone knows the story to the point that women like you are afraid to have babies, we need to put this in balance. We need to do positive deviance. What is it that happens that creates a good birth? Because we've put a lot of energy on, we know what creates a bad birth. And one of the things that we know that's the most important thing, well, there are two things. One is that the most important thing that happens to a woman to have a good birth outcome is not what happens to her when she's pregnant. It's the condition that she's in when she gets pregnant. The average Black woman her body is 10 years older than her chronological age. If the country really wants to do something and is committed to healthier babies, we need universal health care from the moment you're born, not waiting until you're pregnant and then trying to give you health care while you're pregnant and for so many weeks after the birth of the baby. We need preconception training so that we are in condition when we get pregnant to have optimum pregnancy. And I think I have a different perspective on how much the color of your skin determines the outcome, because the majority of our birth workers and doctors are trained in a system that does not respect people. And so it's like being the police force. It's like being in education. It's like being in children's protective services. All of those institutions that are set up, I don't care what color you are, what language you speak, the institutions are not set up to take care of people. So I think that we're at the point now of looking at all the information we have, making sure that you have a best friend, because all the studies show that a woman who has a best friend lives longer than a man who has a best friend. A man who has a wife lives longer than a woman who has a husband. But the idea of having a friend that is your friend, your person, is a good starting point for working out what you need in order to have this baby that you want. That's what I have to add to the conversation. Well, since you asked, I'm gonna talk about Cuba.
Yeah, do that.
Y'all know I work in Cuba. I've been there for 22 years, working with the Cuba-U.S. Medical School Scholarship Program. And now I'm teaching public health there. And actually, Cuba is a developing country, but it turns out to be the best place on the planet for a Black baby to be born.
That's right.
But there is a difference between capitalism, entrepreneurism, socialism, communism, all of that, where you can be as poor as people used to be once upon a time when we were colored, where there was a sense of community, a sense of neighborhood, a sense of family, where you didn't have to pay someone every time you left the house to babysit your children. So it's a different way of thinking about what a child means, not only to you, but to the family, to the community, to being as poor as a church mouse, but looking at your baby and saying, when it was born, is you the one? You know, and what are you actually protecting your child from? You know, what is it you want your child to know? You know, what are your values? You know, do you want your child to grow up and be the CEO of a corporation? Or is your value that you want your child to grow up and be a good person? You know, and I don't know where people have those conversations. I don't know where the answers are, because if I were to ask you how many people in this room right now live with your parents, or even in the city where your parents live, you know, how many people know your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles and your primos? We're in New Mexico, your primos. There was a time when people's primos meant something. I don't know what that means to people anymore. I know everybody has a dog and they walk their dog and they love their dog, but not everyone has the other things that I talked about. So where do we begin the conversation of what does life mean to us? What does our life mean? If you're not a mother, you know, one of the most precious things in the world is being an auntie or an uncle. You know, but where do we have those conversations? Where do we have these conversations? Where is it in the music? Where is it in the poetry? Where is it wherever we worship or do our faith-based stuff? Is that an answer back there? Yes. When we're born, we're more helpless for a longer period of time than any other creature. And the way we survive is by getting other people to take care of us. And it's funny that ultimately we think that we are all grown up and can do it by ourselves. But the other thing that's funny about humans is we never get beyond the need to love and to be loved. And so when we're talking today about spirituality and birthing and healing, and you have the stone that our wonderful assistant made sure that does everyone have a stone? So basically, I'd like you to just look at your stone for a moment and think about who you are as a healer. You know, what is it that you do that actually brings forth life and calls life in another person? There's a funny thing about spirituality. When we say namaste, it's funny how we respond. Like all of a sudden you get serious when you say the God in me, or the spirit in me, or the sacredness in me salutes the sacredness in you. It's amazing how the response is there. And you don't have to read a lot of books, you don't have to take a class, you don't have to do anything. You do that simple thing of calling forth life, sacred life, in another person. So we all have the potential to create life and to create death or dis-ease or illness. So with this stone, if you just think for a moment, what is it about you that is you? That is a healer, that thing that calls forth life in yourself and calls forth life in another person. And people think overall that we are very different from most people on the planet. I used to think that the U.S. was a part of the European Union, but we're not. They think that we're very different too than other people. And we're very isolated from other people our age on the planet. You know, the average woman this morning on the planet got up and had to cut wood to make a fire, to make anything in her house. That's how different we are from the average people on the planet. The average people on the planet speak more than one language. If they want to do something to keep the U.S. from going in and taking control, they say you have to speak 2 languages as a requirement. And I'm only saying that to say that our perspective in who we are, in our town, in our city, in our state, in the region of the country, as you could see with all the stuff that's going on now, where we're definitely not the United States of America. We're more the disunited or something. It's kind of something to think about. It's like we have our own perspectives, and then we wonder, because we don't talk to other people a lot, like what are other people thinking? And you know, how the questions that we ask, how would other people answer the question? And that's all I'm kind of putting out there, is that this is a way of bringing people together from all over the diaspora. And so in this room, look how many people there are from different countries that are here, that had different outbringings, that have different histories and different visions and expectations for the future. And how do we actually blend who we are with the other people that we're sharing our space with?